Didn't do so great with that this year. It's fine. I'll do what I want, as I always do on my channel. Let me get my ready. Love that for me. Yay. Well, hello. Welcome back to my channel. Joshana here to talk about some friggin' stats. End of the year 2025 reading stats. Let me get my shit ready. I had to adjust something because I realized like yesterday that there's 3 books that I DNF'd technically that I didn't actually put on my spreadsheet because I like barely read them, but I do that a lot with DNFs. So I think these ones I just forgot. Like I barely read them to the point of like I forgot to even add them. One of them I did read a fair amount of, and I don't know why I didn't add that one. I just forgot. It happens. Also, I'm having hormonal breakouts, which I have not had in so long. So if you see the shininess of my little pimple patches, no, you don't. Needed to cover them, protect them. I will first start with number of books read and DNF'd each month. And let me skitch to the side a little bit here so there's room on the screen. But yeah, this is what it looks like. So the purple is how many books I read in each month, and then the yellow portion at the top is how many books I DNF'd. And March was full of DNFs, my God. And yeah, I went fucking crazy in October, and I only had 1 DNF in all of October. So that was definitely my most successful reading month as far as just finishing books. So that's great. And November was ass. I barely read in November. I read pretty much every day still, but I was reading so painfully slowly, my God. And yeah, overall though, I did all right. Mostly consistent-ish, I would say, throughout the year as far as how many books I was reading each month. And getting to the overall stats here, total read 101 books. I haven't read 100 books since I think the first year that I was on booktube. I want to say that first like full year, like 2018 might have been. One of those earlier years, either 2017 or 2018, I read like 120 books. And then I cut it down severely. I just had that like just eagerness to like get my hands on all the things and like read all the things all the time. Oh my God. And I went a little ham and it was a little overwhelming for me personally. I don't like before booktube, my average, I would read about 50 to like 60 books a year, just like by myself, paying zero attention to like the bookturnet community. I didn't know it was a thing. So that's like pretty normal for me. So it like jumped up a lot. And then in the last several years, I have stayed around like 70 books, I want to say. I always set my goal at 50, but I always end up reading about 70 to 80 maybe, just depending. But this year I read a lot more, and I'm attributing it to reading less fantasy this year, which we'll get into. And then total DNFs, 37. 37 DNFs. Last year I had 34, and yeah, I'm ramping them up still. And rereads, I kept track of that too, and I had 25 books that I read this year that were rereads. So like a quarter of the books that I read this year were rereads, which isn't surprising. I love rereading. The books I own that I have read, like it's books that I could see myself rereading and like wanting to reread. That is how I curate my own little library. And my average days to read a book is 4 for the year, which again is lower than usual. I mean, I think last year it was like 5 or 6, if I remember correctly, which I might not. And then 56 library checkouts. Love that for me. Here we can see the days to read averages fluctuating. Yeah, November had 8, and July also I had 8, which is interesting. June was 2, and October reading 15 books, and my average days to finish was 2 days. I was just blowing through shit, man. I think it's because I was reading a lot of kind of just contemporary horror-esque type stuff, so quicker reads, I guess. For those 56 books that I checked out from the library, I did read pretty much all of them. There were like 3, I want to say, 3 or 4 that I didn't end up picking up simply because I lost interest. Like Lightfall by Ed Crocker, I got it from the library, and then started reading it and like DNF'd it very quickly and just was like, I'm out. And then one of the Gossip Girl books too, I picked up the first one and DNF'd it. And then I had gotten the second one, so I just took those back to the library. I didn't even pick up the second one. Cursebound by Sarah El Arifi I got and didn't even pick it up. And then I don't remember what the other one was, but yeah, just a couple like that I just changed my mind about. But otherwise, I read them all. I did do a whole video, which I don't think is up yet. I don't know, maybe it is. If not, it'll be coming. Going over all of my anticipated releases, but here's a little overview for you if you don't care about what all those books were and which ones I did read or didn't read or whatever. Here's the stats for it. I had 38 on the list of books that I wanted to read that came out in 2025 that were available, that did actually come out. And yeah, of those, I read 60.5% of them. And of those ones that I read, the average rating was 3.67. So yeah, it was all right. There were some hits, there were some misses. There were some just meh. I lost interest in a couple of them, 2 of them, and I DNF'd 5 of them, and then 8 were left like untouched. I didn't get to them in time, but I do still have interest in them. And then money saved versus money spent. I have kept track of this for the last couple of years, keeping track of how much money I save by using the library. And I mean, I have a little artwork. It's ugly looking, but it's just all of my library cards I've had in my life in like a frame from like childhood, like everywhere I've lived. And yeah, I just love using the library. And there was a couple years when I started booktube where I kind of got out of using the library because again, that like new, booktube channel excitement. And like, again, I had not been privy to the bookternet community at all. So getting Bookstagram, and at the time I had like book Twitter or whatever, I was on that, and just grabbing up all the books, hauling all the books. And I still do haul books. I tend to not buy brand new books all that often, but I do go and trade in books, unhaul them at local bookstores that take store credit. And then I usually, if I do get brand new books, often I'm getting them using my store credit, but not always. I do still buy. As we can see, I still spend some money on books. I spent $623 on books this year, which is a little more than I wanted to, but it's all right. It was not the worst. I saved almost $1,000 though by using the library. Fucking love that for me. Love having a great library system. And I want to do more this year of reading books I own, so I might end up using the library a little bit less, but I do still want to use it. And I did it last year once or twice. One time I did like a video of like I've seen other people do it too, but with like catchier titles than mine. I saw someone's went like fucking viral doing the same thing, but I just didn't like have the catchy title of like reading without the influence of social media, right? Or like going to the library and picking books without the influence of social media. Like that's what I did one time. I just went to the library and just perused the shelves and I think I picked 4 books. One of them I had seen before and like heard of, but not in any detail. It's just a book that I've seen people talk about, but I had no idea what it was about or anything. But yeah, I don't know. I used to do that all the fucking time. Like my whole childhood. That was my childhood, was just go to the library and pick some random ass shit, So I want to do more of that too. And then looking at the books that I did acquire for myself, I physically acquired 45 new books. I unhauled 21 though, so my total acquired at the end of the year, books I added to my shelves, to the number of on my shelves, 24 books. So I didn't do so much unhauling, but that makes sense because I didn't read as many of my owned like TBR books. I imagine this year I probably will unhaul more because I will be picking up ones that I've never read and not liking them, DNFing them, whatever, and just getting them off my shelves. Or maybe liking them, but like not liking them enough to want to reread. So I probably, hopefully, cross your fingers for me, that I stick to my plan of shopping my shelves more, and I will unhaul more probably. And then of the books that I did haul this year, I read 19 of those, so 48.7%, almost half, which I'm not mad at. I think that's that's fine for me. I have some space on my shelves still. It's not like I'm like running out of room on my shelves currently. So it's like I have the wiggle room to like acquire new books and keep them sitting on my shelves for a little bit if I end up doing that. So that's fine. And like my untouched, 19 of those as well, same percentage. And then unhauled 1. And so that means one that like I got, and then before even like reading it, I decided to unhaul it. And I think that was probably Curse Bound. I saw it at El Arifi because I got it from the library to try it, because then I had the Goldsboro special edition and I didn't want to like read that if I could avoid it. But I didn't read it and I just unhauled it. So yeah, not too bad. Again. Then getting into some details about the books that I did pick up this year. I do keep track of like just diverse reads. Is there a diverse, you know, voice in the book or from the author? Diverse representation. And for me, that I'm just looking kind of generally at like minority groups, right? Just something that's like has some diverse representation. Again, either in the book itself prominently or the author, you know, own voices. I used to keep track of like all those specific things, like which ones were, you know, own voices, which ones were diverse due to, you know, racial identity or due to whatever. And it's just a lot. And, you know, if you have the energy and the wherewithal to do that, love that for you. But I think also doing that for a couple of years set me up to have the habit of usually picking up books like that, books that are on the more diverse side. So yeah, usually it looks something like this. Most of them, the large majority of the books I pick up do have some kind of diverse representation. And then new releases. So this is kind of weird how I do this. I don't know. New release, just yes over here. There's 38 that were 2025 releases. Some of them were on my anticipated releases list, but others were just ones that, you know, people were talking about and I picked it up randomly from the library usually. So yeah, 40% were 2025 releases. And then last year, so like not brand new releases, but newer releases is kind of what I'm looking at there. There were 16, so 16.8%. And then no and before 2000. So basically the no section is everything from 2000 up to 2023, through 2023. So those 23 years is the no section. So there's 39, so 41%. And then only 2 that were before 2000. So yeah, not that many that were before 2000, which is kind of surprising to me, but that's what it looks like. I read a fair amount of newer releases for sure. And then the age range, adult 87.2%, young adult 9.8%, and then middle grade 2.3%, and then new adult 0.8%. That little tiny sliver there. So yeah, primarily reading adult, which has been the case for several years now. And then the genres. So, as I was saying, I read a lot less fantasy this year than in previous years. Let me double check what it was last year. Last year was 63.4% fantasy. And then I want to say, hold on, where's my fucking... I'm looking at 2023 now. Oh no, 2023 was 54% fantasy. 59 books that I read were fantasy. I read a lot more historical fiction that year. So yeah, I read more books this year though. So I still read 70 fantasy. I read more fantasy books than I did in 2023, but that's because I just read more books in general than I did. But yeah, so this year, a little under half were fantasy. And then I had 7.8% literary, 9.2% contemporary. So yeah, I just read a lot more just general fiction or literary fiction this year. And then 10.6 historical, so still quite a bit of historical as well. And then I read way more horror. I read 6.4% horror, 5.7% sci-fi. There's one thriller in there right between the sci-fi and the literary, so it's like 0.7%. Classics, 3.5%. Mystery, 2.8%. The little yellow sliver is romance, and that is 2.1%. And then nonfiction also, nonfiction is 1.4%. But yeah, I don't know. A lot of this year, rereading fantasy just was not working for me. And I did pick up a few fantasy books that I really, really liked, but I just wasn't in the headspace for it. I don't know. I was just branching out a little bit, and I had fun branching out a little bit, and I will continue to do that. I used to read. I was not a big fantasy reader. My whole life, like growing up and stuff, I mean, I'm sure there were fantasy books I picked up when I was a kid. But again, I'm 40 almost. I grew up, you know, in the 90s. I was in elementary school. And like by the time Harry Potter came out, I was in, what, 6th grade, 7th grade? I remember seeing it at the book fair. I've said this before. I vividly remember seeing like the stand with all the Harry Potter, the first books, and the cover right next to like the checkout. And I just was like not interested. Everybody was reading it and like, you know, freaking out about it. And I just had no interest whatsoever. I just didn't read like magic stuff like that. So I just didn't pick it up until later. And then even in like adulthood, I started picking up like paranormal fantasy a little bit more, like paranormal romance kind of, and picking some of that up. But it wasn't really until booktube. Well, no, a little bit before booktube, I had picked up like Throne of Glass and ACOTAR and what else? The Seven Realms series by Cinda Williams Chima. So I had picked up a little bit of fantasy before, but then yeah, joining booktube, I just like went ham with fantasy, and I still love fantasy. I mean, most of the books on my shelves still are fantasy. I thoroughly enjoy it, and like when it hits, it fucking hits. Finding a fantasy book series that you love is delicious. I love it. But I used to read a lot more just general fiction, contemporary fiction. I did read classics here and there, or like modern classics. But yeah, I just kind of got out of it. I think I got burnt out from it during college. All my, you know, lit classes and doing all the like critical literary analysis. I got a little burnt out, but like I think I'm coming back around to enjoying that and seeking that out more. And my series situation. Here we have it. So I will dive into it more in depth in a separate video. I haven't filmed it yet, but the rundown here is I completed 7 book series, and were a couple of those rereads. Yes, they were, but I started and finished the series, so it counts. And then I caught up with 10 where like there's nothing new that is available to me. You know, I'm caught up with like the most recently published book in the series. And then 31 that I am in the middle of, that I am either caught up with or I'm not caught up with, but I've started the series and there's other books to finish. And then I DNF'd 8 series this year. And then the format of the books, unsurprisingly, mostly physical. That's always the case for me. I think, yeah, 2023, 56%. 2024 was 53%, and this year, 61.9%. So definitely leaned more physical this year. My fucking carpet is wet because I cleaned the carpet this morning, and that was a time. And I keep like switching my feet, like which foot I have picked up because they're getting wet. Okay, my owned unreads. So every year I use the Book Buddy app for tracking the books I own. 10 out of 10 would recommend. It's super easy. You literally just scan the barcode. Occasionally there's an ISBN or there's a barcode, especially like used books that I get that are like older or whatever, that like it doesn't match and it doesn't come up, or it's like, I don't know what you're talking about, or self-published books where it's like, can't find. But you can just type it in manually. Like you can take a picture, you can type in as much information as you want. I usually just take the picture of the cover, put the name of the book, the author's name, maybe the series name. But you can put in all kinds of information manually if you need to, but for the most part, you just scan the barcode and it loads it in there, and then you can change the reading status. I never use it for, you can track like in the middle of, like I'm currently reading. I don't really use it for that. And you can do a whole bunch of other stuff with it too, but I genuinely just use it to see which books I have finished and which ones are unread. At the beginning of every year, I do that. So at the beginning of 2025, I had 122 books that physically I owned, that were on my shelves, that I had not read, and I picked up only 17 of them. I have a goal for the last couple of years, every year, of picking up 40. Definitely did not get there this year. Like I said, I was reading a lot more from the library. I read a lot of new releases that I would get from the library. So it wasn't like I was buying a bunch of brand new books and reading those. I just wasn't shopping my shelves. I was shopping the library. But yeah, so 105 untouched. Bummer times. So yeah, 86% untouched. I only read 6.6% of them, 8. And then I unhauled 5 of them, which is 4.1%. And I DNF'd 4 of them, which was 3.3%. So yeah, when I say like my goal is like to pick up 40, that could be picking it up and reading it from start to finish, picking it up, starting to read it, DNFing it, or just picking it up and being like, you know what, JK, I don't want you on my shelves. I'm unhauling you. Like getting them off my shelves, one of those 3 ways. And yeah, didn't do so great with that this year. It's fine. Okay, getting into the ratings. This is a refresher of my rating system that is mostly vibes. This is just kind of generally what that range is looking like. 3-ish stars is like in the liked, fine time. Loved is around 4 stars. 4.5 up to 5, if that's how I'm feeling, that's like a fave for me, fave of the year or fave of all time, and so on and so forth. So that's what it looks like. I do still keep track of quarter star ratings, like personally myself. So you can see here all of the individual quarter star ratings I gave this year. So what was the most? I think the most? Oh, 3.5. Okay, yeah. But right behind it is 4.5, 14.9% versus 15.8%. So just a 1% difference. Love that for me. Because 3.5 is good too. 3.5 is like, I quite liked it. You know, these are books that are above middle of the road for sure. I didn't quite love them, but I really liked them. Those types of books, you know? Versus like a 3.25, 3 is like, middle of the road, like slightly above middle. Like I liked it a little more than average, but I wouldn't say I really, really liked it, you know? But yeah, 4.5 is like fave of the year, maybe. That's great. And my 5 stars is pretty high too. 4 is pretty high. 4 is next up, 12.9%, and then 5 is 10.9%. So overall, pretty good. But then I do break it down into like bigger chunks, I guess. So below 3 stars, only 8.9%, which is pretty normal for me because, as I've said time and time again, if I'm feeling like I'm hating a book that much, where I'm just like having a miserable time, I'm DNFing it 9 times out of 10. So it's pretty rare for me to be giving like a 1-star rating or even 2-star ratings. I think this year I gave 1 2-star rating, a couple of 2.5s, a couple of 2.75s, but I didn't give anything below a 2. And that is not because everything I read was great. It's just the ones that were gonna be below a 2, I noped out of there. And then everything else is pretty kind of even, I guess. The 3 to 3.5 is 31.7. And that's, again, that's like the middle of the road. It was fine, good enough, up to like, I really, really liked it. And then the 3.75 to 4.25 is like, I loved this. You know, this is my like loved. It's getting up there to like, ooh, so close to being a fave. And then 4.5 to 5 is like faves. And that was 32%. And yeah, my average was 3.9 stars for all of the things that I read this year. Love that for me. Yay. Okay, that is all for my general stats. Like I said, I will have my specific anticipated releases review coming. Also, my end of year series situation. I will be tier ranking. I already did this, but I haven't edited yet. Tier ranking my 2025 DNFs, which I've done the last couple of years. And then I am about to record the 2025 faves, almost faves, and surprising. And then my 2025 least faves, mids, and disappointing. So all that fun stuff will be coming soon. I hope you all had a decent reading year yourselves. Hopefully you found a couple of new faves or had a few standouts for the year. Yeah, I think too in 2026, I mentioned it a couple months ago, I think. I don't foresee myself. I'm very loosey-goosey with my channel, as y'all know if you've been here for a minute. And I think I might stop doing like recent reads videos it's just, I want to focus my time a little bit less on constantly having something to edit, a video to edit, which is kind of how it has been the last couple of years. I bulk film, but then I don't just sit down and like bulk edit. I can't do it. So I will just edit like for 30 minutes to an hour every day or every couple of days. And often I'm like finishing editing a video the night before it goes out. And I, for the most part, in 2025, I still was doing like 2 videos per week usually, but 1 video a week several times. And I just want to have more time to focus on other things now, I guess. I still love having a booktube channel. I'm not gonna like stop making booktube videos. My channel is very stagnant, but I'm fine with that. I've been here for like almost 8 years now. My channel got to a certain point and then it just kind of hung out there. I don't read all the like big fantasy things that I know if I read more, A, just more fantasy, but B, picking up like the really popular, well-known fantasy books and liking them and talking about them, I'd get a little more traction. Or any like specific genre, I think. If I was really into fantasy romance and like that's all I talked about. I'm a little all over the place though, and you know, whatever. And also as we all are, we're not everyone's cup of tea. So I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea. But yeah, my channel's just kind of hanging out, but that's fine with me. It's whatever. It's a little frustrating sometimes because you're just like, what? Why? Like, why? What happened? But I don't think any one thing happened. You know what I mean? It's just YouTube and just people not wanting to watch as much. Again, I don't have like a specific niche necessarily that I'm talking about. And I'm a little bombastic sometimes, but also I think this year, last year especially, I felt just a little burnt out in general. Not with booktube, but just life was lifing for all of us, I think. Definitely speaking like as an American citizen. It was just like, I think I didn't have the mental energy to put into things, and I still kind of feel that way, but I want to get back into some of my other hobbies. And I mean, writing, I've said it so many times since I've been doing booktube. I've been talking about how I need to like fucking crack down. And I did at one point. I finished a manuscript years ago of a book that an idea I had back in 2009. And it took me so long to finish that manuscript. I got it professionally edited, but then I was like, I kind of want to redo the whole goddamn thing, and that's very daunting. And so that's just been sitting there. But then I got another idea for a fantasy book, and I've been like slowly working on it for several years, and I've just been getting in my own way. I've wanted to be an author since I was 4 fucking years old. Like, I was that kid that everyone knew. All my family, all my friends, everyone in school, all my teachers, Jashana wants to be an author. Jashana's a writer. Like, I was just known as like a writer. I wrote constantly. I wrote poems. I read poetry. I wrote poetry. I submitted to competitions. I would win competitions all the time. Like all these like writing competitions in elementary school and middle school and high school. I got scholarships to go to like writing workshops at colleges when I was in middle school and high school. All my teachers like so encouraging me, like, you need to pursue this. Oh my God, I went to college and got a degree in fucking writing. Like, and here I am, 40 years old, not having seen that dream through. And I've been saying this for fucking like 10 years. I'm sick of myself. I'm sick of myself. And I'm over it. So this is going to be the year. I already started a little bit in the last couple of months. I have been working on writing more, and I'm gonna fucking do it. And I just know in order to do that, I need to cut back on something else. And it's gonna be editing videos. So I think I'll probably, and like hardly anybody fucking watches my videos at this point anyways, and like certainly like my recent reads, not that many people watch anyhow. So I think I'm just gonna do kind of like bi-monthly run-throughs where I just very briefly say all the things that I've read and like talk about the standouts, whether it's like the hits of like things I fucking loved or things I fucking hated. And of course, occasionally if the mood strikes me and there's a specific book or a couple of books that I've read recently that I just really want to gush about, I'll make an individual video talking about that book or those couple of books or whatever. I'll do what I want, as I always do on my channel. But yeah, I'm probably not going to be posting so consistently. Like, since I started BookTube, I've been posting at least one video a week pretty much every single fucking week for like 8 years almost now. And the first couple of years I was posting 3 or 4 videos a week. And then it went to like 3 videos a week for a couple years. And then the last like year or two, it's been like 2 videos a week / this past year, 1 here and there. But you're probably not going to see that. There's going to be weeks where I don't post. And I'll try to like keep you guys up to date for anyone who does care with like community posts, if it has been like a hot ass minute since I've posted. And I think too, I might like lean into shorts, like YouTube shorts more. If there is like a book that I really, really liked that I want to like just talk about a little for a second, you know, but I don't want to make a whole fucking video about it, but I just want to like make sure everybody knows that this book is great or whatever the hell. So I might do that a little bit more. We'll see. Whatever. Again, as per usual with my channel, I'm very loosey-goosey, but that is the goal, is to cut back a little bit and spend more time writing. And I might start talking about writing more here, but I don't know. I tried that years ago, like having kind of AuthorTube / booktube channel, but it felt like too much pressure or something. Like it didn't have the effect of like giving me more motivation. It just like felt like too much pressure and like, oh, like daunting. So I don't know. We shall see what happens. Check back in. And if you guys if anyone does have like any kind of preference for how I would do like talking about the books I have read, monthly, I hated doing like monthly wrap-ups, you know? Doing like bi-monthly, just quick run through, very quick like TLDR opinion, like, hey, here's a short version of how I felt about this, and then only talking more in depth about the ones I really loved, favorites, or ones I fucking hated or something. Like, I don't know. If you have fucking opinions, feel free to share. And I will take that into account as well if there's multiple people with the same type of opinion. I'm rambling, though, so I'm gonna go. Again, hope everyone had a lovely 2025 reading year and just year in general. And here's looking at 2026. Hopefully it's great. As always, thank you so much for your time. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.